All right, well, week 3 follow-up. It's crazy to think that in only 2 more weeks, we're going to be a quarter of the way through the NFL season. Really crazy to think. But we're getting there. Week 3 was a nutty week. A lot of backups and stuff like that. I'm really shocked that I did as well as I did. Okay, so Titans and Jags, that was Thursday night. The Jags won 20-7. I ended up getting that one right. The Chiefs outlasted the Ravens 33-28. I got that one right. The Bills won again. The Bengals almost came back and beat them, but the Bills did win. I got that one right, 21-17. Cowboys dominated the Dolphins, which isn't surprising, 31-6. I picked the Cowboys. Packers and Broncos. Packers won 27-16. I picked the Packers. Colts and the Falcons. I got that one wrong. The Colts won 27-24. The Colts are low-key decent. I mean, they're with what they got, they're low-key decent. Vikings and Raiders. I picked the Vikings. They won 34-14. So in other words, like half of the teams Sunday that were home won, and then half of the teams that were on the road won. That's why it was kind of weird. So the Raiders got killed. No surprise there. Different year, same Raiders. Same head coach, all that good jazz. Patriots at Jets. I picked the Patriots, of course. They won 30-14. Lions at Eagles. I picked Philadelphia, and they failed me again, and I'm definitely not picking them next week at Green Bay, which that will be the very next video. It's the Week 4 picks. The Eagles tried to come back near the end, but the Lions were... Yeah, the Lions are 2-0-1. I mean, they're proving something. 27-24 was the final. The Panthers throttled the Cardinals, which is awesome because I had faith in their backup, and their backup came out and dominated, 38-24. Good to see that Carolina still has some life. Giants at Bucks. The Bucks should have won this damn game. The Bucks had a long-ass pass to Mike Evans at the very end of the game, got down there, kicked a field goal, and the dude missed it. And it was a chip shot. So the Giants ended up winning 32-31, although the Giants didn't look bad with their backup. They did not look bad. So that's another team that looked pretty decent with a backup. Texans at Chargers. I'm glad the Texans won. I picked them 27-20. I put the Chargers in a 1-2 hole. Steelers at 49ers. I picked the 49ers. They won 24-20. The Steelers are kind of like the Broncos. They're pretty shit, but they play everybody close. Saints and Seahawks. I picked the Seahawks, and the Saints won. Teddy Bridgewater went into Seattle and got it done 33-27. Rams and Browns. I picked the Rams. The Browns played a hell of a game. I think they had plenty of chances to win. 20-13. Bears and Redskins tonight. I watched that game, and the Bears just absolutely massacred the Redskins. 31-15, and I think the Redskins could have done a lot better as well. So this week I went 12-4, pretty decent week. My overall was 32-15-1 now. Which, for the record, I'm never going to call a tie. I'm always going to pick a winner. So I may have more of them by the end of the season. But anyways, so let's talk about 2 teams that I think are underrated and 2 teams that I think are overrated. This has been something I've been wanting to do in the first couple weeks. Just haven't got around to it. Teams that I think are overrated. Let's start there. And I'm going to pick... how should I do this? Actually, let's do 2 teams from the NFC and 2 teams from the AFC. And I'm going to have to think about this because I haven't actually looked at it. 2 teams that are overrated from the NFC. The Packers are definitely going to be one. And I'm kind of steering towards the Rams. I wanted to say the Cowboys, but the Cowboys have been pretty consistent. I don't like the Cowboys. I hate them. But they're like the Patriots of the NFC for me, except they don't win. But the Cowboys have been consistent. They played some dog shit teams, but they have been very consistent while playing those teams. So I'll give them the benefit of the doubt. The Rams, on the other hand, let's take a look at who they played. So they beat the Browns by 6, and the Browns have been kind of, and they let the Browns have a lot of chances. That defense definitely is not the same for the Rams. But they keep promoting the Rams. The Rams, they played the Saints last week. They beat them 27-9. But Drew Brees was also hurt, so you can't really tack that on. And in week 1, the Rams beat the Panthers 30-27. And the Panthers are kind of like the Broncos and the Packers. They may be a crap team, but they're going to stick with you. Well, the Broncos and the Steelers, I should say. All right, number 2 team, the Packers. This is why I think they're overrated. Week 1, they beat the Bears 10-3. Okay, that was one of the sloppiest games I've ever watched. The second game, they went and beat the Vikings 21-16. The Vikings are not that impressive. And then this week, they beat the Broncos, and the Broncos were 0-3. They were 0-2 going into that game, and they barely beat the Broncos. My 2 teams for the AFC, it's very tempting to call the Patriots overrated at this point because they have played 3 massively shitty teams. The Jets, who else did they play? The Jets, the Steelers, and the Dolphins. All 3 of those teams are so damn terrible. They're all 0-3. They're so awful. All 3 of those teams, except for the Steelers. The Steelers, they did throttle the Steelers, and that's why I'm kind of giving them the benefit of the doubt because Big Ben was there. So that's why I'm not going to call them overrated because the Steelers were at full capacity, and they tore the Steelers up. But, at the same time, if the Chiefs were playing the Dolphins and the Jets, I would expect the same results. So I'm not going to pick the Patriots. It's tempting, but at the same time, I see their bright side. And they are the Patriots. And the Patriots are the Patriots, period. So 2 AFC teams that I think are overrated. Shit. The AFC's kind of in a turd spot here. I want to say Houston, but they played New Orleans really close. So I don't really want to pick them. I'm going to say the Chargers is 1, and it's not because I know I'm kind of going back on it, like I'm picking teams that are overrated for the record so far, but the Chargers have to be in there, dude. They have to be in there. This team got hyped up from day 1. You're going to win the AFC West. Oh my God, Phillip Rivers, they're going to win the AFC West. This team is dog shit, and I called it. They go 12-4 one season, and then like 5 years after that, they are complete ass. They'll maybe get to 9-7 if they're lucky. And this proves it. I get it. The Lions are 2-0-1. They got beat by the Lions by 3 points in a 13-10 game. You really think they're going to win the AFC West scoring 10 points a game? Hell no. They'll be lucky if they beat the Raiders at that rate. Which, by the way, for fellow Chiefs fans, it is a good day to be in the AFC West. Chiefs are 3-0, 1-0 in the division. And then under that, you have the 1-2 Raiders at 1-1 in the division. You have the 0-3 Broncos and the 1-2 Chargers. The 1-2 Chargers and the 0-3 Broncos. There you go. There you have it. In other words, we're 2 games up on everybody in the division. Pretty good day. So the Chargers, I would have to pick the Chargers. They're overrated as hell. They really are. They were supposed to be this big Billy badass team that just comes in here and shits all over the AFC West. And I knew for a fact that wasn't even going to be close to the result. They got punked by the Texans by 7 points. I give them credit. They're keeping it close. And the Lions beat them by 3. I'll get into the keys to beating the Lions later on in the week. I don't really have time for it right now. But as goes for that, I'm just going to say if that defensive line gets the pressure on Matt Stafford that they did on Lamar Jackson, dude, Matt Stafford can't move near as fast as Lamar Jackson. Matt Stafford is going to be dead. And we have a record for blowing out the Lions, too. Anyways, my second team that I think is overrated in the AFC. Oh, man. I'm really going to have to dig deep to find this one. It's definitely not the Ravens. The Ravens are a damn good team. I hate to say this, but it's got to be the Bills. Look, I am so happy that the Bills are 3-0. I love seeing new teams and new faces crawl out from the depths. And another thing I'm glad about is this video is a little bit longer, which is nice because most of them have been short lately. But I got to say the Bills. They played 3 opponents that really aren't that great. And I just can't say that they're top-notch stellar yet. I mean, they're there. They're winning football games. That's better than they were last year. But I can't say that the Bills are going to go and knock off the Patriots. I don't think that's going to happen. I think they might keep it close somewhat, but if it's a blowout, we know which side the Bills are on. So those are my 2 AFC teams. I can't really say the Jags because they aren't doing shit either. So the 2 underrated teams in each conference. So I'll start with the NFC again. My first one. I can't really say the Bears because they were good last year. They're playing really good again this year. No change. But what I will say is I'm going to have to go with the Lions on one of these. The Lions are a 2-0-1 team, and they've honestly played pretty consistent. I mean, they've got out there and they played and they've won, and it's different than what you've seen last year. Last year was like, holy shit, they beat the Patriots like 30-14, and then the next week they just get clobbered by the Vikings, and the Vikings were awful. I think they're a decent team this year. They're very consistent. They go out there, and no matter what, they get the win. And until the Lions prove me otherwise, maybe next week, they're going to be facing Kansas City. Kansas City is a tough team. But I think the Lions have a shot at playing with Kansas City. They're really not a bad football team this year. Second team in the NFC that I think is underrated, I got to say the Panthers, man. Look, they played some pretty tough teams starting out. You know, the Rams. The Buccaneers isn't really a tough team, but it's in their division. And divisional games are always hard. And they literally lost the game by a yard. And then they put this backup in, and he just goes wild on Arizona. I think the Panthers are underrated. I think people are counting them out already. And You know, I don't know. I'm not saying they're going to make the playoffs. It's possible that they could turn around and go 7-9. I don't know. But I think the Panthers have a solid chance. They just played some tough teams. Yeah, I already said the Rams were overrated. Or at least I think that's one that I picked. Let's see. Two underrated teams. I mean, you could put the 49ers in there too. They're playing exceptionally well. I mean, they really are. And nobody's talking about San Francisco. You could definitely put them in the mix in that conversation for underrated teams as well. AFC underrated teams. The Texans are doing relatively decent this year again. But they were doing decent last year, so I can't really count them. I'm just going to say it. Cleveland. I think Cleveland's an underrated team. And here's my point behind that. The Rams, I may have said they were overrated, but they played the Rams really hard. And they had chances to win that ball game. Yeah, I know they laid a complete dud in week 1. But in week 2, they bounced back. They beat the crap out of the Jets. And their defense did better against them than New England's did. I think the Browns have just played some tough opponents. And I got to have the Colts as my other AFC. The Colts are a team that everybody thought they were going to get crapped on this year, and they weren't going to be anybody. And that's just not the case, man. The Colts have been winning football games against decent opponents. For having a guy that's never been in that system, that's never played for that organization, I got to give them credit. They're doing decent. I mean, that's pretty much what I got there. I'm going to make a video right after this. I'm not going to make it all one video, but I'm going to do my week 4 picks.